Action, action is the hallmark of life. You all know that where there is no indication of activity, whether it is voluntary action or involuntary action, there's no sign of any activity, that entity is declared dead. So action is the hallmark of life. Now this action can be in any of these three moods that we have talked about, the Rajasic, Tamasic and the Sattvic moods. And depending on the kind of activity that you are in, whether it is spiritual, material, criminal, whatever activity it may be, all these activities are done for a certain purpose. Why do we indulge in any action? Because we want something. Any action leads to something. And this is what we are looking for now. What is the purpose of our action? The real motive or the goal for any action is ultimately happiness. Whether it is a spiritual action or a criminal action. Even a criminal is acting because that would give him happiness. Spiritual people do it because for their happiness. The materialist does that for his own happiness. As Gurudev says, people get married for happiness. They get divorced for happiness. They kill for happiness. Everything is done for the purpose of happiness. So since the ultimate goal of everybody is happiness, and yet there are these variety of people who are indulging in actions. Lord Krishna says, even this happiness comes under three categories. So what are these categories of happiness? What is Sattvic happiness? Sattvic happiness is that which gives eternal joy, peace and happiness forever, for everlasting. At the beginning, the process is very difficult. For example, if you are going to pursue the spiritual path, maintaining self-control, controlling your sense pleasures and conserving that energy and diverting that energy into spiritual pursuits. All this is a difficult process. But if you pursue it, ultimately it gives you peace that will last you forever. It's eternal happiness and peace. So that is Sattvic happiness. What is Rajasic happiness? Rajasic happiness is where the sense organs have to be in contact with sense objects, and then you get some pleasure out of that. So when I see with my eyes some beautiful things, I get satisfaction, and that is happiness for me. But this Rajasic happiness does not last for too long. It putrefies. Why? Because if you really look at it, we are using our body, mind and intellect, which is constantly changing. Our body is changing constantly, our mind is changing constantly, and the intellect is changing constantly. And we are using this body, mind and intellect to get happiness from objects, emotions and thoughts out in this world. And these objects, emotions and thoughts are also constantly changing. So with the changing body, mind and intellect, we are contacting the changing objects, emotions and thoughts and expect that happiness to last. It will give you momentary pleasure, but it will never last. It putrefies into sadness and worry. Pleasure derived by contact by sense organs with sense objects. It is nectarine at the start, but putrefies rapidly. Sense objects are ever changing and the sensuous mind is also ever changing. Thus, there is no lasting happiness. Also, even when you are experiencing this sensuous happiness, contact with sense objects. Suppose you have happiness there. Even when you are enjoying that happiness, there is in the back of your mind a worry that this happiness is not going to last. So even that happiness is contaminated by worry and anxiety. Joy is always afraid and that it will not last. For example, if you take a piece of chocolate and taste it, it gives you happiness. So once you taste it, it gives you happiness. You take another piece and another piece and another piece. By the time you come to the 6th or 7th piece, it does not give that much happiness as before. By the time you come to the 15th piece, not only does not give you happiness, it gives you a nauseous feeling. So the same object, the chocolate remains the same object putrefies in time into sadness and suffering. What is tamasic happiness? Is a delusory happiness that is based on sleep, indolence and heedlessness. Lord Krishna says tamasic happiness is based on sleep. Sleep meaning in sleep we are not conscious of the external world. We are non-apprehensive of the reality. So in here the sleep means not sleeping. Anyone who is not conscious of the ultimate reality and act in such a way that you do not acknowledge the existence of the ultimate reality, that person is supposed to be acting in sleep. The second way is by heedlessness. They don't pay attention to any advice. You give a criminal advice about not to do a certain thing, they don't listen, they won't accept your logic because they have their own ideas concretely, firmly implanted in their mind. And the third one is indolence. Intellect is not able to think correctly. Now, everyone comes under these three moods all the time. So Lord Krishna says, please don't despair, because everyone, even the most saintly person, has these three moods all the time. And even the criminal has some good sattvic moments from time to time. So therefore, do not despair. These detailed analysis, meaning, in the previous verses of this chapter, we talked about all the mechanics of action. What are the things that impels or the compelling forces behind any action has all been discussed. Actions and the knowledge that you get, that have been discussed in great detail, and the actor, the kind of person who is acting, again that was all discussed in detail. So when an actor, meaning you and I, comes with our knowledge and we are acting in this world, we are acting which is perpetuated by our understanding of what this world is all about. And again, this understanding comes under three different categories, which was discussed earlier. And to sustain our actions is what we call the dhritti. That is also of three different kinds, also discussed. All these details are given so that we would know our own action. This is for self-analysis, not to judge somebody else and say, oh, that person is acting in that way, so he must be a tamasic guy. This is not, Lord Krishna wants, this is not to judge others, but to judge ourselves at any moment. Given all these detailed explanations and descriptions, you analyze yourself, and if you find that you are in, let's say, the tamasic mode, try to snap out of that and go into the rajasic mode And from that Rajasic mood, you move on to the Sattvic mood. Try to do, change yourself in that way. So it's for that purpose that all these details are given. Lord Krishna, after describing all this, comes to the point where, okay, now we know all about actions. So how do we act in this world? What kind of actions should we indulge in? For that, Lord Krishna says, he had classified the human beings into 4 classes. Unfortunately, this is the caste system that exists in the present time back in our country, and I'm sure the caste system exists everywhere in the world to different degrees. This is a misinterpretation of what the Bhagavad Gita has said. The intent of the Bhagavad Gita, when Lord Krishna says that he had divided human beings into 4 categories, the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Sudras. Brahmanas are the spiritual and religious leaders of a society. Any community has these 4 types, because the whole humanity is divided into these 4 categories by Lord Krishna. So therefore, this is not a division only for the Indians. This is for the whole world. Why? Because there are Brahmanas even in America. There are Kshatriyas in America. There are Vaishyas and Sudras in the western part of the world. So it is for the entire humanity. So who are these Brahmanas? There are some duties. Or before that, there's a table that Gurudev gave just for our own understanding, not that there is specific percentages. A Brahmana is one who has 80% sattvic qualities, 15% rajasic qualities, and 5% tamasic qualities. That kind of a person is a Brahmana, has 80% sattva, 15% rajas, and 5% tamas. The Kshatriya has it the other way. He has 15% sattvic qualities, but 80% rajasic qualities, the Kshatriya, and 5% tamasic. A Vaishya, he has 5% sattva, 80% rajas, and 15% tamas. And a Sudra has 5% sattva, 5% rajas, and 90% tamas. An individual is judged by his expressions and his contact with the world. Expressions meaning how he acts, how he expresses his feelings and his emotions and his actions. So an individual is judged by his actions and by the contacts that he has with the world, how he contacts with other human beings, other living beings, the inanimate objects, how he contacts them. These are the criteria by which you judge a person. The quality of contacts with the world. These reflect his inner personality, because those are the things that reflect that person's inner personality. Now you would know earlier, Arjuna, when he was facing the army in front of him, he told Lord Krishna, I don't want to fight, I don't want to kill my own kith and kin. Let's go to the Himalayas and I want to meditate, because that's the noble thing to do. And Lord Krishna discouraged him from doing that. Why? Because Arjuna, by nature, all his life has been a Kshatriya. He had been trained in the military mode all the time. And he showed an aptitude for the fighting spirit. Like, he excelled in the bow and arrow thing, where he can do very well with that. So he has that natural ability to fight. When you have that natural ability and you don't want to follow your natural inclination, but you want to go and meditate in the caves of the Himalayas, you will be a mess out there. So the Lord says, you do what comes naturally to you. And that's why Lord Krishna was advising Arjuna, you do what is natural for you, which is to fight. Do not worry about you killing somebody. You are not killing anyone. You are just doing your natural thing and in performing your duty. So different duties are assigned to each class depending on their true nature, which is called the Swabhava. Now you and I know that our vasanas determine the kind of body that we have and the kind of environment that we are going to be born in are all determined by our vasanas. So what I am today is a product of my own vasanas. But at the same time, I was born into a world that has others' vasanas. So I come with my vasanas into a world of others' vasanas. So if I am going to pursue other people's vasanas, my vasanas would remain unexhausted, and in fact, by doing somebody else's vasana, I would be accumulating new vasanas more and more. For example, I am not into trading. I'm not good in investing money and putting money in here and looking at the stock market and selling this and buying that. That is not part of my nature. But then I see my friend doing that, and he's doing very well, and he's making a lot of money. So I think, okay, maybe I'll do what he's doing. So I take my money and I put it into the stock market, and I'm also doing a little bit here and there. In no time, I lose all that money. Why? Because I don't have that in me, that knack to do that, whereas he has it. So I'm trying to live his vasana, and it only ends up destroying me, and I accumulate new vasanas now, while my natural vasanas are still there, unexhausted. So I am defeating my purpose at both ends. So therefore, Lord Krishna says, always follow what comes naturally to you. Follow your natural instincts. Swabhava, which is ordered by the proportions of the gunas in your mind and intellect. These duties ensure that tamas can evolve into rajas, which in turn can grow into sattva. Unfortunately, this has been misinterpreted and it has become a birthright. This is the caste system we are talking about. So a Brahmin has a child, that child automatically becomes a Brahmin, although he has no Brahminic qualities. Who is a Brahmin? Is one who revels in the Brahman, who pursues that lifestyle. Whereas he is into something else, but he is born into a Brahminic family. The same with Vaishya, let's say, a trader. The son of a trader does not automatically become a trader himself. He may be a sattvic person who wants to become a Swami. So if he is made to do the wrong thing, he will be unhappy most of his life. So what are the qualities of a Brahman? Ever in control of his mind, not controlling the mind and preventing it from running into the sense world. Now, there are these two qualities that we talked about earlier, sama and dhamma. A person, now I can be secluded in the cave of the Himalayas, where there are no sense objects around me, and yet I could be letting my mind flow out into the sense world by living in my memories of my past pleasurable activities and enjoyments that I have had. So here I am living in the caves of the Himalayas where there are no sense objects, but yet I am reveling in sense pleasure in my mind. Controlling your mind from running into those sense pleasures is called sama. You control your mind from running into these sense channels. Dhamma is where you prevent yourself from your sense organs from contacting sense objects. So, an example would be, I want to see a movie. That's a desire that had come. My sense pleasure of my eyesight. I want to go to the movie theater and watch the thing and enjoy the movie. To prevent myself, this sense organ, from contacting that sense object, that's called Dhamma. So I prevent myself from going there only because I understand why I should not be doing that. It's a waste of my energy and time. So that is Dhamma. Brahmana is one who is always in control of his mind, preventing it from running into the sense world, and even when shut off from the world, he controls his mind from indulging in sense pleasures and controls the sense organs from contacting sense objects. And he practices tapas. What is tapas? Conscious physical self-denial for a higher purpose. It doesn't mean, tapas means there are people who observe fast all the time. Fasting is a denial. You are denying yourself of food, but you deny it for the right purpose for a limited amount of time. There are people who starve every single day. Monday they starve because it is Lord Shiva's day, so they don't want to eat anything. Then Tuesday is Ekadashi, they don't want to eat anything. Wednesday they can eat something. And Thursday it's some other deity's day, so they don't want to eat. Friday also they don't want it because that's another special day. 5 days, 6 days of a week you don't eat, you are going to ruin your health. And who is going to benefit from that? The Lord is happy that you are starving yourself? That is not. You are only punishing yourself unnecessarily. So the Lord says, the tapas, your self-denial has to be intelligent and meaningful. You deny yourself because, say, I want to fast today. Why? Because I want to discipline my mind, that it should not look for food all the time. And instead, I want to divert my mind onto some higher purpose. So I live during the day when I am fasting, thinking about and meditating and contemplating. Not thinking about what I should eat tomorrow. Now that I am not eating anything today, tomorrow morning, this is what I am going to eat for breakfast. Tomorrow lunch, I am going to do this. So if you are going to think about food that you are going to eat tomorrow and fasting the whole of today, your fasting is meaningless. The fasting has to have a meaning. So that is tapas. A Brahmana indulges in tapas. Then saucha, that's cleanliness. That cleanliness is not only external cleanliness. A Brahmana always wants to keep everything clean around him, not only of himself, but his surroundings also. His place will be all organized and clean. And there is inner purity also, where there are no bad thoughts, criminal and vulgar intentions, all that he eliminates, and that's cleanliness. Then shanti, or forbearance, being patient and forgiving. There are things and people who are always going to offend you. If you are going to look for excuses to be offended, there will be plenty of reasons every single day to be offended, because somebody or another is going to do something or say something that you are not going to like. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, be patient and forgiving. Just think in your mind, that they do not know what they are saying. If something hurts you, if they say something hurtful to you, don't get offended. Just think, I have a different opinion of myself, and yet he calls me a rascal. Why should I think that his opinion is better than my opinion of myself? I know myself better than anybody else. I don't think I'm a rascal, but he is calling me a rascal. So I think in my mind, or I should think in my mind, he has limited information about me. And based on that information, he is calling me that. So why should I get offended by that? In fact, I feel sorry for him that he is acting with not a full deck. He doesn't know all the facts. So I feel sorry for him, not angry with him. So that's the forbearance. Arjavam, uprightness, being straightforward in any dealings. Not go in an indirect, circumventing way. Be direct about everything. Because if you try to show off something that you are not, if you say that, in your office, you are the most important person. Everybody comes to you for advice. And if you are not there, the whole office is dysfunctional. Nobody knows what they are doing. This is what you are telling somebody else. In actual fact, they are keeping you there because they don't know how to fire you. And that's why you are in that office still. But you think, no end of yourself. So you are being not straightforward in your own. So if somebody asks you, where are you working? Oh, I work in that office, but it's a very small job. It's like a peon's job. But I'm happy doing that. So you are being straightforward. You don't need to pretend anything. And the next person asks, you say the same thing. But if you lie here, you have to maintain that lie at the next occasion also. And at that occasion, there will be somebody who had been there earlier, who had listened to you, and you had said that you were the big shot there in your office. And here you are saying that you are not a big shot. So, you are contradicting yourself. So you have to remember what you said there and here. So your mind is always fully occupied with that. So instead of that, just be straightforward. Now these are the 6 qualities. The above 6 are the hallmarks of a Brahmana in his contact with the world of situations and beings. So these are when you deal with the external world. For the Brahmana, there are 3 more duties that are internal. That is knowledge. He has enough knowledge by the studies that he had done. He had gathered knowledge and vijnana. And using that knowledge, he had done some contemplation and reflection on those things that he had understood. And he had made it his own knowledge. That is vijnana. Vijnanam is direct experience. Most of us have jnana, meaning we have knowledge. We know that if you jump into the ocean and you don't know swimming, you will drown. So I don't need to get drowned to learn that, because once I get drowned, I am dead. So I learn it by others' experience. I learn it from others. That's jnana. That is not vijnanam, that if I jump into the ocean, I will die of drowning. Vijnanam is where I understand something and I reflect upon it and I made it my own experience, my own knowledge. Vijnana is knowledge digested and assimilated, a deep inward experience that guides him. And the last one is faith, ashtikam, believing in what one has studied and understood, and there is a law and order in nature. There must be a lawgiver. If you really look at it, nature has a lot of laws. If there are laws, there must be a lawgiver who determined that the earth should move around the sun at a certain speed every single day. We know that that happens. Who determined that? So that the law is that the earth will move around the sun. Also, the law is that there is a gravitational pull. That is the law. Now, who gave the law? If I say, I don't believe in the law of gravity, so I am on the second floor and I say, I don't believe in the law of gravity, and I just step out of the window. Law of gravity will not spare me just because I don't believe in the law of gravity. I will fall down and I will hurt myself. The same with fire. Fire, if you put your hand in it, it will burn your hand. That is the nature of fire. But if used properly, that fire will be of use to you for cooking purposes, for warming up your room. It can be used properly. But if you don't follow the laws right, you will get burnt. So all these laws that the Lord had given are things that can never be broken. These are, if there are such laws, there must be a lawgiver. So you believe, you have a faith that there is a lawgiver, a higher intelligence who has devised this whole universe for us. And you have faith in the scriptures that you read and digested. You have reflected upon it and you find that it is true. So these are the things that you have faith in. And those are the qualities of the Brahmana. What are the duties and qualities of a Kshatriya? They are truly, a Kshatriya is the warrior, meaning one who is truly a kindly person, but who has a lot of prowess, meaning he has strength and energy in doing things. Truly kindly personality who has prowess and boldness, Sauryam and Tejaha. He has vigor and consistency in meeting challenges. And the qualities that he has are fortitude or driti. Having decided on a project, he discovers the necessary drive to keep on going. There are people who make decisions, but they have no capacity to follow through with their decision. A Kshatriya is one, when he makes a decision, he will follow through and he has the necessary motive within himself, the drive within himself to follow that. Promptitude. Again, when you make a decision, he is very prompt and there is no procrastination. He will implement it right away. You make a decision, but then you say, I'll do it tomorrow morning. Starting tomorrow morning, I will do that. That is not the sign of a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya always does that immediately. He is alert and vigilant, prompt in decision making and executing that. Never flees from a battle. He never flees from a battle, meaning not only in a war that he doesn't run away. Any challenges in life, he doesn't evade any challenges. He meets the challenges, whatever they are, and deals with them. Dana. A Kshatriya needs to be very liberal in rewarding people who support him, because if you don't support the people who help you, you're going to lose all the support. So you need to be generous with them. Lordliness, self-confident and inspiring others. The Kshatriyas are people who, the way they behave, you feel like following them. They command that respect. They inspire that in the people who follow them. Vaishyas, they are agriculture, cattle breeding and trade and commerce are their fields in which the Vaishya can exhaust his imperfections. Sudras, service is their duty. Sudras are the common laborers. Their service is their duty, and they do it with devotion and dedication. Each type serves the society. Now this is important. all four categories serve the society. No one category is superior to the other. The Brahmana is not superior to the Sudra. The Sudra is a laborer, but without the laborer, you are not going to be able to accomplish anything in life. So, all four are important for the society to function. Each type serves the society. No one is superior to the other. The mental temperament determines what class one belongs to and has its own duties. If entrusted with the wrong duties, he will cause havoc. For example, a Vaishya as a government officer. A Vaishya is one who does trading. He always looks for profits. Now let's say a Vaishya becomes a doctor. If I am a Vaishya at heart, my temperament is a Vaishya, where I am always looking for making money and profit and so on. But I become a doctor. What would I do? I won't be treating patients. When I see patients, I see how do I make money. Is he a paying patient? If he is a paying patient, I'll pay attention. If he is, from the, unfunded patient, I'm not going to pay much attention. So, I'm being a Vaishya, although I'm working as a doctor. So, if I choose the wrong profession, but my temperament is something else, I'll be causing chaos not only for the profession, but for myself also. I'm not going to be happy doing, but I'll be making money all right. But I'll be losing out at the other end. Our Gurudev gives the example of a man who was born to a famous lawyer in Madras, and he wanted to become a doctor. This boy wanted to become a doctor. The father said, I have a thriving law practice here, and I'm saving all my clients for you. You become a lawyer and you take over my practice. I'm keeping all these clients for you, so you become a lawyer. So the boy had no option. He studied law and he became a lawyer. And he took over the father's practice, and because he was an honest, good man, his law practice thrived. And because he was good in his work, the government offered him judgeship. So he became a judge. And there also he was a good judge, so he became the Chief Justice. So he was working as a Chief Justice all his life. And then he retired and came back to live in Madras in some colony. The first thing he did was go to the bookshop and buy a homeopathic medicine book. Because that is his inclination to do, he wanted to become a doctor all his life. So he buys this homeopathic medicine and he reads about it. And then he goes around in the colony. I think you have a cold. I'll give you something. And he gets some homeopathic medicine and he'll come and give it to him. And not only will he give it to him, he will make sure that he stands there while he swallows it. Take it now. And I want you to take it 3 times a day. And then you think, okay, and you say, okay. He'll come back around lunchtime. Did you take the second dose now? Like that he will do that. And then a little boy has sniffles. You have a cold. I'll give you something that will fix it. All children have a little cold and runny nose. But he wants to treat all that. He had been such a, he's a good man, but he has been such a nuisance that people try to avoid him. The moment they see him, they close the door and then, they are, because of his, that's his nature. But he revels in that and he's so happy. 2 days later, the boy's runny nose is okay. All runny nose gets better in 2 or 3 days. But he takes credit. See, my medicine has worked on him. So he takes credit for that and he's so happy because that is his natural vasana. But he didn't get to do it, but he was a successful Chief Justice. So that example was given by Gurudev to show that you may do well in what you are doing, but then Your natural instinct is something else. So Lord Krishna says, it is any day nobler for you to follow your natural instincts, your swabhava, even though they may not be a noble one. See, we as parents, we always tell our children, you become a doctor. And he has no interest in medicine at all. But we make the child, why do I want my child to become a doctor? So that he can make money and he'll be comfortable. So this is my intention. He is not inclined that way. He is inclined into drawing and painting and all that. But I say, that is not going to give you, money to survive. You become a doctor. So our Gurudev says, you yourself don't know what your natural instincts are. Why are you advising your child? You don't know what his natural instincts are. You are going, you are also messed up and you are messing up your child also. So always follow your natural instincts, even if they are not the best. You follow your natural instincts and try to exhaust your vasana. When you follow your natural instincts, your vasanas get exhausted. And then you gradually move up from the tamas to the rajas and to the sattva. So this is the advice given to the Lord, by the Lord, how to act in this world. And there is a lot more that follows as we go on. Thank you.
This is so nice. And
Dr. Pillai, in that thing that you said at the end, what to advise?
Yeah.
Our parents will think that children, for them to know their natural instincts and do the things that they want to do, you think they will